Hey guys, Professor Hughes here. Had an interesting discussion about, believe it or not, Orthodox Christianity, and there are some mysteries, we'll call them, that don't have answers. And I thought of a science principle that is not intuitive either. So, what I'm going to ask you to do, I'm going to, apropos, I'm going to use a Bible. So, I have a plastic table, and I'm going to go ahead and put a 1400 gram Bible on it, and I'm going to lift the table. All right, and I will give you the measurements as we do the experiment, and I'm going to lift it to a certain degree angle. All right, and then I'm going to apply 42% more mass on top of that Bible. All right, and then we're going to lift the table. So the question at the beginning is, since I've added more mass to the Bible, will I have to incline the table less, the same, or obviously more, at least by 42%, before the Bibles start sliding on the table? All right? So we'll go ahead and run the experiment, and I'll conclude. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and lift, and just as it starts sliding, I'll go ahead and stop it. Okay, fantastic. Well, here's what we have. Where I stopped it, I went ahead and just superimposed this in paint, and I drew the pixels out. You have 700 across the base and 143 up. So what I can use is tangent, and we wind up with 11.5 degrees. So now the question is, I'm going to add 900 some odd grams more on the second two Bibles that I'm going to pile on this one. And we're going to relift the table. Again, I ask you, and take a few seconds here, will I have to lift it slightly less, the same, or slightly more? Okay? So remember, I'm adding about 42% more mass on top of this Bible. So what do you think? Okay, so we're going to lift again. Lift, and there you go. Okay, well, let's go ahead and check that one out. That I measured again, and because we're using trigonometry, it really doesn't matter the actual sizes that I use. So in this case, I struck 600, and I went ahead and went 120 high. And plugging that back into the tangent, we have 11.3 degrees. So the first angle was 11.5, the second was 11.3. And I'm going to tell you, we added 40% mass. So we should have had quite a bit more angular inclination if mass actually mattered as it's piled on top of the table. So the actual difference is 1.7%, which is essentially zero. I can tell you that frictional forces are exactly equal, and I'll go ahead and cut to myself here, and I'll explain why this all works. Okay, fantastic. So believe it or not, the Bibles slid at exactly the same angle. Okay, the first one was 11.5, the second was 11.3. That's within a 1.7% error rate. All right, so that could be maybe my hands vibrated or something. But you know what, 11 degrees. And the reason is that friction is only dealing with the normal force, which is always perpendicular to the surface of the two things that are sliding. It has nothing to do with the gravitational acceleration, all right? So again, this wasn't intuitive. Most people would say, well, if it weighs more, you'll have to lift the table a lot higher to get it to start sliding, all right? So the conclusion is, of course, that the stickiness of two surfaces together are not dealing with gravity. They deal with the normal force, again, perpendicular to the surface upon which something is going to slide. All right. So there we go. It's not intuitive, but in fact, that's physics. All right. This is Professor Hughes. We'll talk later. Bye, guys.